Hockey players are in flexion all the time. So the swing for us was a tool to kind of get them out of flexion and try to get them back to neutral, especially in the hip, okay? So what I also liked about the swing is you can see a lot of things going on at the same time where, you know, you can see they're not getting their hips through, they're not firing their glutes, they're not this, they're not that. So I like that because it was also an evaluation tool as well as an exercise, okay? Couple things like what we did the functional movement screen, and is everyone familiar with that? I'm not saying you have to do that, but we did that. And the swing isn't something I did with people who had asymmetries in the active straight leg raise. So if we had guys who had, say, 2 and a 1, we wouldn't progress, we wouldn't do the swing with them, okay? If they got symmetrical 2s, symmetrical 3s, bang, we were doing swings. So, and we would, with the guys with the 1s and the 2s, we'd definitely incorporate corrective exercises to help them make that change, and we'd re-screen them, and then when they were able to go, we were going with our swings. Okay, so let's talk about, let's go through some things here. Let's get a volunteer. Garnet, let's go, bud. Garnet's actually the head strength coach for hockey at Arizona State now, and he made his way through a Ducks training camp, so he's here learning, which is awesome. So, 20 kilos should be fine. So when we teach this, you know, it's important that we want to make sure that they can deadlift properly, their active straight leg raise is in line, and everything's kind of green lighted before we go. So when we teach this, I like to get guys into a position where they kind of pick the kettlebell off the floor into their first rep, rather than picking it up and then going from there. I hate that. So we definitely teach that kind of hike first, all right? So Garnet, let's get behind the kettlebell right about here. Okay, so we want to get into a position where his knees are bent a little bit, his chest's up. Now we want to kind of cement the hinge. We want to get him hinging right away. Chest is up, and then I'm going to have you grab the kettlebell with your chest up, looking up to the ceiling. Bend knees a little bit more. So he's looking up, his chest is up. We start every rep from this position. You can stand up. We start. Put it down. Rep 3 in. We start every rep from that position because I don't want this. Hey, how many reps are we doing? You know, and they kind of get going, and you're like, no, let's make it quality movement. So we start every rep in that position, and we're actually thinking about being like a center in football. We want to hike back and then go into our first rep. Now, a couple things. We teach the hinge versus the squat, so we don't want this. Like, we want this, okay? It's very difficult for guys to get that concept, and I found that, you know, when you're using the appropriate weight, they can get it as they do a couple reps, because you can coach them. You can, like, hey, don't fire that, or, you know, don't bend your knees as much, stick your butt back. Using all those cues to make sure they do them properly, okay? And in the team setting, it's you know, I've used it for years. When everyone's doing proper swings, actually looks pretty good, you know. So, I mean, for years I did, you know, Olympic lifting and hang cleans and snatches and all that. But I realized at the NHL level, not everyone can do those movements. So the swing was a great alternative for Olympic lifting, okay? So what I want to do is have Garnet approach the kettlebell. Same thing, grab the kettlebell by the top, chest up, grip it hard. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to ask him to hike the kettlebell between his legs, above the knees, then I want him to explode through. Okay, so let's see if you know what to do. Do a couple reps. Okay, good. So what I do with Garnet then, so obviously he wasn't extending his hips, so what we'll do is we'll do some corrective exercise to help him get better at that. So, do you guys all see that? Okay. So have a seat, sit on the ground, lay on the ground. So what I like to do is we'll do a couple of glute bridges first. Bend your knees. toes up. Do like 10 glute bridges where you're squeezing your glutes, driving up, hold for 10, hold for 3 seconds, do it 10 reps. So what we saw there was, and what's great for hockey players, if you see that, he's not extending his hips through, right? So what we want to do is try to get him to think about extending his hips, okay? Okay, that's good. And then we'll also have him do is stretch out his hip flexors, okay? Because the hip flexors on that exercise could be like the brakes not allowing you to extend through. So we want to get maximal hip extension with 0 hip flexion so he gets to neutral. So squeeze that right glute, kind of lean into it a little bit. Keep the rib cage top. Feel it? Then we can switch sides.
On either of those stretches, you have to worry about his cervical alignment or his ankles. So if you can both stretches, you need both glutes. His ankles were off when he's insert the key pins when he initiated through. So like we ever try to make sure in that scenario that he stays aligned as he initiates through, so the hips don't move with his neck when he starts.
Well, that's pretty good. No, I don't see that stuff. I don't look for that. No, I mean.
Just if it's a power sequence, I worry about the top of the spine as much as I do the bottom portion. So in an activation sequence, when I see him break down, it's like stop. I don't want you to lose the fire because you're about to.
Well, in my opinion, if you're doing that, you're not doing much training.
Okay.
You know, like that's. I'm not saying like don't disregard that,
Okay.
but I'm also seeing the forest through the trees. You know, like I want my guys to be explosive and powerful, and I guess I've never had a guy complain about neck pain or this is wrong. So like it's always worked, and yeah, I know. That's great you saw that. I don't see that stuff, you know.
I have a brain injury, so that's why that means a lot to me. Like that's why I was just wondering.
No, yeah, that's
Okay, good.
cool. Okay, let's try a couple reps again. Now think about this time. We want to think about driving the hips through, and don't let those hips act as brakes. Try to come on the way through, and then let it swing through. Chest up. Good. Stick your butt back more. Keep the kettlebell above your knees. There you go. Okay, put it down. So as you can see, could you see that correct? You guys can see that correction there, right? So we do exercises like that to help get that extension better. Not only as part of like, hey, your swing sucks, let's do this, but more like we'll do that stuff from a prevention of injury sequence anyways. So we're always trying to get extension and creating lengthening in our hips. So, you can sit down. So I'll just thanks, Skahan. So we can get